Hey everybody, it's John Pollock alongside Jimmy KORDERAS, and this is our preview for WWE Payback coming up Sunday from the Allstate Arena in Chicago, technically Rosemont, Illinois.
Well, you know what? To me, it'll always be the Rosemont Horizon.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the older venues that the WWE continues to run with the Nassau Coliseum, I guess kind of in that same kind of era of arenas that they continue to run to this day. It's rather incredible.
But the thing about the Rosemont Horizon Allstate Arena, it's the acoustics in that place are fantastic. It's for an arena that size though, it feels like the ceiling is a little lower, and maybe that adds to it because the atmosphere is always, and you know the crowd there's going to be.
Is there an event that jumps out for you from that arena that you were there for live that you, in particular, made note of just the volume that was produced?
Well, the final WrestleMania to be held in an arena, WrestleMania 22.
I was at that show.
You were there?
I was there. I was there covering it with Mr. Wei Ting. We were in the crowd.
See, you didn't come by and say hi.
No, I don't think I even knew you at that point, to be quite honest.
Probably not, yeah.
No, you would have big-timed me if I came up and tried to shake your hand and be like, please.
Yeah, I was a different person then.
Yeah, big Jimmy in that head. But yeah, WrestleMania 22, and we're going to get Chris Jericho on this card. Of course, that was his debut in 1999 at the Allstate Arena. Right. So lots to discuss. I guess as we look post-WrestleMania at the WWE product, a lot of new faces on the main roster, a lot of different directions. This is not a show where it's a ton of rematches from WrestleMania, which sometimes you do get a lot. Instead, it's a lot of newer, fresher programs. And I think a lot of people have enjoyed this build to Payback because I don't know where WrestleMania is going to rank amongst people's WrestleManias, but I think that for me, I think creatively, it was a very confusing show when you look back, and I'm looking more forward to Payback than I was WrestleMania.
Yeah, because we talked about this before we went on here, that the build to Payback has been, almost like the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. The build up to the main event has been well done. Better than probably the main event that was built up to at WrestleMania. It's a simple story being told. Here's a guy who won the right as to be the number one contender to the title, and he's going to face the champion at Payback. And we throw a little bit of monkey wrenches in there with the debut of Gallows and Anderson, and throwing little question marks whether whose side are they, who are they siding with, and stuff like that. But it's not overly complicated. It's very simple storytelling. All the matches, Sami, Zayn, and Kevin Owens. I like the build to this one too because they are building upon their history and talking about how they've fought all over the world, and they've brought this battle to the WWE as well. It's simple storytelling. It seems to be working with guys that the vocal, I don't even know if you call them vocal minority anymore, whatever you want to call them, the most vocal of the audience want to see. So, I think from a wrestling standpoint, we're going to get a really good pay-per-view on Sunday.
It's headlined by Roman Reigns and AJ Styles, who won in the four-way the night after WrestleMania. And I think that they've done a pretty good job of building this up. And you have the mystery of where Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows get involved in this, who they are aligned with. Are they with AJ? Are they working with Roman Reigns? Are they attached to neither of them? So I like that intrigue for this one. And I think that for Roman Reigns, I think that there's fewer guys you could choose here that are going to get a really quality main event here. And I have high expectations for this match. I think that Roman Reigns, typically when he is matched with the right guys, and especially in a pay-per-view setting, you see this guy shine. I mean, he is not someone that is adverse to having really great matches, and we saw it throughout 2015, and I'm expecting a really good match between these two.
I am too, because if you look back, you mentioned 2015 matches, surprisingly against the Big Show in that tables match,
which was the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, where those two I thought worked a great last man standing match.
And
together.
Before WrestleMania, the match he had with Daniel Bryan. I mean, it's not that he can't perform in the ring. He has quality matches. He's and I hate to draw this comparison, it's that John Cena factor. Here's John Cena. Here's a guy who, through that U.S. Open Challenge, was having stellar matches, but for some reason, people just can't look past the fact that they dislike this guy. And I'm afraid that's what's happening with Roman Reigns now. Roman Reigns is having quality matches against a variety of opponents, but they can't look past the fact that they don't like this guy. And it's not that, he's a heel, he's a babyface kind of thing. It's just, we detest this guy, and he can have 5-star matches from now until till eternity, and just people will not accept him for some reason. And I think they need to forget that pack mentality and enjoy the quality of performance that he's giving to everybody, regardless of whether he's a heel or a babyface. So that's a different story.
How do you feel about the way they're kind of tiptoeing the line with Roman Reigns? I mean, he is kind of just, he is throwing little subtle heel mannerisms without being overt. But it seems for a large part, it's the audience. I don't get a sense of either love or hate for this guy. It's kind of in between at this point in time. Are you fine with the way they're going with him? Because I think everybody anticipates this guy is not dropping the title on Sunday by any stretch. Yeah. And where you go beyond this. Does the feud with AJ Styles even continue?
I guess you can continue it one more pay-per-view depending on...
it is a very quick turnaround. They're back 3 weeks after, so it might make sense to extend this one.
Exactly. So to have a non-finish in this match, or a controversial type finish in this match, obviously leading to I guess Extreme Rules is the next one.
Some kind of stipulation
match to kind of blow this mini feud off. But again, as far as Roman Reigns goes and his acceptance by the WWE Universe, again, very polarizing. Still, the kids love this guy. Women love this guy. He's got that look. And I'm going off people that I work with and live with that say, hey, this is a good-looking guy. Okay, if you say so. But that attracts women. And that's
Jimmy's a sucker for a man with beautiful hair. Yeah, I've seen old photos, Jimmy.
I know. It's the hair thing that's great. But anyway, but Roman Reigns is an interesting situation here. I like what he is doing, how he's presenting himself, whether it's somebody has an influence on it. I like the fact that he's not really a babyface. He's not really a heel. I get it that he's trying to do this catchphrase thing. I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy.
It was a great line the first time I heard it.
I'm the guy. Now, just say, leave the prefacing out. Just say, I'm the guy, and just leave it at that.
Sure.
I mean, that's your T-shirt. That's your catchphrase.
It's like you cross the line from something catchy, and then you say it over and over again. It's like, okay, it's now a trademarked catchphrase that we want to associate with him.
Tater tots.
I'm completely with you on that one.
No, just, I'm the guy, and leave it at that, and the way he's being presented right now, he could work against heels and baby faces, and it works.
It gives him that adjustment, and I agree. I think that we probably extend this program to Extreme Rules, and you probably do have You've almost promised people Gallows and Anderson in some sense, which will be interesting to see how the crowd gets into the match initially, because I think a lot of them will be anticipating not to buy anything until those two get involved in the match.
Right, and I got my own little theory on how that's going to evolve.
Theorize away.
Where, obviously the questions are Gallows and Anderson in cahoots? I'm going to bring that word back, cahoots, by the way, with AJ Styles and conspiring to help AJ win the title from Roman Reigns. Or in some fashion, do they end up helping Roman Reigns retain the title? And now the question is, are they secretly actually in league with Roman Reigns? I think it's going to end up being neither, but it's going to play out later down the road instead of being rushed, hopefully. And we find out maybe that's the introduction that we've been waiting for from a certain demon.
Wow. Look at Jimmy going deep here into fantasy booking land. It's somewhat, I mean, if you want to go really back, I mean, we go back to the infamous turn by the Freebirds onto the Von Erichs in the cage, where here are the Freebirds who come in and they're closely linked to the Von Erich family. They're considered friends of the family. They do the fan vote to get Michael Hayes as the referee that night. And then Michael Hayes, the match is there for Kerry to win, and Kerry will not take the shortcut. And Michael Hayes is just so frustrated. And then as they go to leave, boom, Gordy smashes the door onto Kerry's head.
Yep.
And it's here. We weren't aligned with Ric Flair, but we got so frustrated that you wouldn't just take the shortcut, AJ, and they turn on him. So cage match at Extreme Rules it is. Come on, Jimmy.
Yeah, that works for me too.
All possibilities.
All possibilities are on the table.
Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose will Well, this was actually the first match. This was going to be penciled in to take place at WrestleMania. Plans adjusted, so we're getting it a month later. How have you looked at this build-up? We had a talk show at stake here involving these two, with the highlight reel being canceled. And then you got more of a serious angle this past Monday with the Walls of Jericho on the announce desk. I think this is a necessary win for Dean Ambrose. I don't think he gained pretty much anything out of the Brock Lesnar program once it was over, and you realize just how clean he lost, the position he was in. I think it was a lot of a letdown for people that had really got into that program. I think this is largely designed as a rehab program for Ambrose.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like you said, especially at WrestleMania being one of the top 3 matches at WrestleMania. I mean, arguably number 3 behind the Cell and the main
and didn't
event.
feel like it after. I mean, it was that was not a big Brock Lesnar match to me. It was there on the card, and Dean just went down. It was a clean finish, and I not to say it ruined this guy by any stretch, but I don't think he gained anything out of that program now that it's all said and done.
No, absolutely, and like you said, this seems a lot like a rehab program for Dean Ambrose, and it almost feels like, people have been comparing Dean Ambrose to several different wrestlers over the past, for everybody from Terry Funk to Brian Pillman and Roddy Piper. And now that they're bringing in this Ambrose Asylum talking segment and stuff like that, I'm almost seeing that
there's some Rene Dupree. The most forgotten talk show segment in WWE history.
So much so that I'm still trying to remember it. But
come on, Cafe de Rene, no fans out there, clearly.
It was on the SmackDown brand too, which was. But anyways, I won't even go there. But it almost feels like this is like this generation's Roddy Piper kind of thing that they're building with Dean Ambrose. And my only fear is that with Roddy Piper, he became such a superstar that the title wasn't needed. You know what I mean? He was one of those, when you think back of all the greats that never held the WWE Championship, and he's on the list along with guys like DiBiase and Mr. Perfect and stuff like that. I'm afraid Dean Ambrose is falling into that category right now as the guy who's going to be hugely popular, like Roddy Piper, but maybe not hold that title.
Yeah, I've seen over the past month, it seems that he's the kind of guy you need to be careful with, because he's very good at taking material that would bomb with a lot of guys, and he can present it in such a way that he can make it work for his character. He has a great understanding of what Dean Ambrose, what that character is, and how that character will deliver lines. He's very good with that. And I think sometimes the WWE will take advantage of stuff like that, and we're wandering into he's the wacky, crazy uncle. Dean Ambrose. Oh, he's crazy.
Not Ric Flair crazy, but...
No, just wacky crazy. And that's not always a great trait to have. Yeah. Though I feel with Dean Ambrose, when the time is right, the real money with this guy, I think, does come down the road as a heel. But he's kind of in a role right now where I don't know if they really want to turn him, because he is this dependable babyface that doesn't feel positioned to ever be that top babyface. Right. But he's a solid number 2, number 3 guy. Yeah. So I think with him, it's a balancing act with him, and trying to keep that credibility that this guy has worked very hard to achieve, and not go so crazy that it becomes comedy. And the Ambrose Asylum has suggested that's kind of more where he's veering off to.
Exactly. And the fear is him getting Dolph Ziggler, because there's another guy who, let's be honest, has all the tools to be a top guy, but he ended up becoming the what I like to refer to as the best utility player in the WWE right now, because if we want to get somebody over like a Baron Corbin, put him in there with Ziggler. Ziggler will get the guy over.
Is that a clean finish on Sunday with Baron Corbin and Ziggler?
I think it is. I think Baron Corbin makes a strong, statement, and obviously I think Ziggler makes him look like $1 million.
So that's the preview for that match.
Yeah, pretty much.
I would be surprised if they extend it beyond, but with a quick turnaround, you sometimes will get that, where it's something that could be a one-show program gets extended to 2 because of the fast turnaround. Natalya will take on Charlotte, where we will have Ric Flair and Bret Hart in opposite corners. This is a redo of what they did at NXT TakeOver 2 years ago, and that worked tremendously well. You can really look at the seeds of the rise of the women in NXT. You could pinpoint that match as the kickoff point where they were given a big focused position on a TakeOver special, and Rick and Brett were great in that match. Didn't get physically involved. They were just seconds, and the focus was the women. I think in this case, I do think we have some physicality, whether it's Rick eating a punch from Brett, something like that, because this was all set up because of Rick's involvement in the match at WrestleMania, and here is Brett to kind of even the numbers, and you have to do something to necessitate Brett being there. So I do expect some kind of spot. Is there any way we see a title change here, or does this stay with Charlotte?
I think Charlotte still retains the championship here because I think obviously the money program seems to be between Charlotte and Sasha Banks down the road, and that's probably going to be the main women's match for SummerSlam.
Probably.
So I think that's where that's heading. As far as the involvement of Ric Flair and Bret Hart, I agree with you. The less that they are involved, the better. So I'm hoping that if there is going to be some involvement with Bret trying to negate Ric Flair's interference, it is minimal. Just like you said, a simple punch, or just when he goes in, tries to sneak in the ring, and maybe he grabs his legs, and there's a little bit of a
we'll see.
Distraction there that leads to the finish. But I would prefer minimal involvement from both of them.
Yeah, and I look at this card now. I mean, we have 8 matches if you include the pre-show. So I would expect that these women are going to get a good amount of time as well. This is not going to be some rushed 6-7 minute match. I mean, I expect them to get at least 15. You would think, and they should have an outstanding match. I mean, we were there at Roadblock where they had a tremendous match, and I think that match really did up Natalya's stock, where she became kind of she was just a support character, and here she's getting now a focused spot on a show. So that's great. We move on down the card. What else can we discuss? We've got, of course, the Intercontinental title match, The Miz defending against Cesaro. Is it time for a title switch already? Because that title has been a hot potato since WrestleMania. Did you know that there was a guy named Zack Ryder that won the title at WrestleMania?
I've heard of the guy.
Yeah.
I've heard of the guy.
If you blinked and missed WrestleMania, you would never know this.
You know what? I really like the pairing of Miz and Maurice right now.
They've been very entertaining.
Very entertaining. And too soon, I think. You can't. I don't. Again, the hot potato thing, I'm not a big fan of that. But if you're going to switch the title and you're going to put it on Cesaro, at least wait till Extreme Rules and let Maurice have a hand in kind of helping Miz retain, whether it's a disqualification or whatever the case may be, or he walks away, whatever it is, and Cesaro wins by count out, whatever. But at least extend it to the next pay-per-view if you're going to switch the title then.
Yeah. What do you think about Cesaro's, full on, the James Bond entrance, the tearaway suit? This has been the subject of debate.
I liked it at first.
There's few guys that could, a lot of people, it would simply be panned as so campy. Yeah. I think there's a certain allowance that I think a lot of people give because it's Cesaro.
I think so too, but people who know Cesaro and know his sense of humor too, those are the ones that kind of look at him like that and they go, hey, you know what, this is kind of cool. Cesaro's like being himself. He's having fun with this. To me, when I first saw him rip the suit off, the first thing that came to my mind was Lieutenant Frank Drebin. I don't know if you remember the old
of course.
Naked Gun movies when he was with Priscilla Presley and they were ready to get busy. Do they even say that now? I don't even know. I'm so out of touch. I don't know what the terminology is. But he kind of like peeled the suit off. And I don't know why I thought of that, but that's what I thought of. Well, I wasn't thinking James Bond, that's for sure.
Well, maybe he's aware of this, Jimmy. And maybe instead of the IC title, it's going to be Cesaro that gets the money in the bank. And then when he finally cashes it in, he can say, case closed. Which was the payoff line to Leslie Nielsen and George Kennedy and their infamous SummerSlam detective duties.
That was the old. Wasn't
it's like someone thought of a joke and then we moved backwards, and that was the entire focus of the summer was up to a fart in church punchline from those two.
Crickets.
You mentioned Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Great video package this past Monday. I stated this week with Way that one video package to me did more for Sami Zayn than his 2 months on the main roster. I think that video was essential because I think we went into this with Zayn's return at the Rumble and then, full move to the main roster right afterwards, that everyone had seen what had happened in NXT. And I think you take for granted sometimes how many people are watching NXT and how many people are aware of their backstory. And that video package, it summarized it great in 3 minutes or less. You told the story, you understood why they're having this match, and now you have an emotional interest if you did not know what the backstory was. So I thought that was great on Monday.
See, and that's the challenge. We talk about, the going from NXT to the main roster and how many people are actually watching NXT. And there is a great number of people watching NXT, but you got to also remember that at least half that audience watching on Monday nights may not be familiar with the backstory. Maybe they're focused mostly on the WWE product and don't know their history outside of the WWE. But what they did on Monday, like you said, was bring everybody pretty much up to speed on it, and they did it in a great way. And I have no doubt that this match on Sunday will probably, it may be the match of the night.
Very well could be. And there's a number of possible candidates for that title. I think with these two as well, this could be the end of the feud, but I could definitely see this one progressing and keep going. Like if Owens wins and then he wins by whatever means, and then you do get that. This seems like the kind of match that you would want to extend, especially for a big blow off at Extreme Rules, where you would have some kind of big stipulation to end the program. I think this one very well could extend, and that's why I feel Kevin Owens probably wins on Sunday.
No, I agree. This, like you said, up and down the card, this is a very good meat and potatoes pay-per-view. If you're a fan of like wrestling in-ring action, this is going to be one that I think they're going to like a lot.
This is what we call a Sean Stasiak and Rob Van Dam pay-per-view. Meat and potatoes.
Meat and potatoes. Wow.
Should have ended on that note.
How do you follow that? How? I don't know.
Final match, we'll discuss Enzo and Big Cass taking on the Vaudevillains. What I've liked the most about this tag tournament, Jimmy, is that in all these brackets, you could have outlined ways that you could get around finishes, run in here, cost someone this match here, and instead we just went with largely clean finishes, varying degrees of match quality, but we're at a spot where we have two new teams that have not lost yet on the main roster that are facing off for something meaningful in a tag title shot, and one of these teams is going to lose for the first time.
Right.
And I think this tournament has been booked very well. It's just two unbeaten teams that are going to meet, and you honestly have an interest to see, wow, who is going to lose this match, because they've put some focus on both. I would say Enzo and Cass are the hotter act at this moment,
right?
But I think it's been a very, very simply booked tournament with something at stake. And I like the fact that it's the finals. I know a lot got thrown out when the Bray Wyatt injury occurred, but because we have the finals, you're not going to get the tag title match that same night. They can hold that off to whether it's Raw, probably happens at Extreme Rules. You have something coming out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. But all that said, too, I'm just afraid that leading up to this match on Sunday, the finish of this match will involve some kind of shenanigans or some kind of interference, costing one team or the other, victory, which I'm assuming will be, I think the Vaudevillains will benefit from some kind of outside interference, whether it's
the Dudleys.
The Dudleys screwing over Enzo and Cass and leading to them having a little bit of a rivalry, which, to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with, because if you're going to build the tag team division, and I know everything should focus around the tag team champions, at the same time, you have to have secondary rivalries in the tag division that people care about. And what better way? The Dudleys' role right now is these guys that are future Hall of Famers for sure in the WWE.
They're already in the TNA Hall of Fame, Jimmy.
Hall of Fame, yeah. That place that they've been at prior to that,
I think, as they call it, other organizations.
That other organization, that they never mention.
It's like the Bullet Club. It's now in WWE land. It's now... They were part of a club together in Japan.
Yeah, a club.
A club.
Yeah, the Ribera Steakhouse Club.
That's it. They all have their jackets.
Yeah, they all have their jackets. But I think it's great. I think it's great to elevate Enzo and Cass even more on the main roster by having them paired with the Dudleys. So in that case, I don't mind it, even though, we prefer clean finishes, but hey, you can't have them all the time.
I said that was the last match. We also do have Kalisto and Ryback in a rematch on the pre-show. I don't really get the sense we're going to... This feels like this feud has not progressed by an inch since WrestleMania, where we got a clean finish by Kalisto. And I mean, it's there to me.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you do? For all the work that had been done by John Cena to elevate the United States Championship, it's just been completely undone now. I mean, nobody... nobody cares about the U.S. Championship. I hate to say it, but nobody cares about the U.S. Championship. And
I mean, how many times have you even seen Kalisto on Raw since WrestleMania? I mean, he was part of the tag tournament with Sin Cara, where I think the last we saw him on Raw, it was where he was laid out by the Dudleys on the floor for the whole match. I mean, these two... I mean, largely this was like off one segment on a SmackDown. It just seems like this has been a very forgotten title on Kalisto, and I don't know if that's a sense that they're not fully invested in Kalisto, and maybe they do a title change here and they go with Ryback. But I mean, it's a pre-show match.
Exactly.
I mean, you're not going to get too wrapped up about it. No. But as we've outlined, I think a lot of optimism going into this show from a quality standpoint, and then we'll be back with Extreme Rules a few weeks later. So Jimmy will be back next week. We will go through Payback and what they ended up doing. Maybe it's going to be a show where we're just as confused as we were right after WrestleMania, and especially the night after Raw. And that was the other thing, Jimmy. Man, I keep trying to end this, but also, which is in a major position, is the control of Raw. For the second straight pay-per-view, the control of Raw will be decided at WrestleMania. I got an idea.
They should have a Hell in a Cell match with Shane... Oh.
Well, is this going to be where Vince comes out, he announces Stephanie is in control of Raw, and then Shane runs it the next night?
It could be. Or,
like, that's what I've been taught to expect.
We still haven't had the third or fourth wheel in this one. We haven't heard from Triple H yet either, so obviously he's going to probably have a say in this.
How about Shane is announced as running Raw, and The Undertaker shows up and says, what the hell is going on here?
Didn't I beat you?
Yeah.
Did I not beat you?
Did we not just have a really important match at WrestleMania?
I'll tell you what. It's a weird way to get there, but if this does not somehow lead to a brand split, brand extension, because
they're definitely teasing that.
It feels like it's going in that. I'll almost be disappointed if it doesn't go in that direction. So
to me, I almost feel like this is more of a Raw segment where I think they could have announced, instead of just unadvertised, Stephanie shows up this past week. I mean, you didn't get any value out of her return. To me, on Raw, you could have stated Stephanie's return this Sunday at Payback. She will confront Shane.
Right.
And you're left with, okay, Stephanie's return is on the show. It's not some major focused upon point, but that's her return. Let's advertise it. Stephanie confronts Shane, and we get the segment from Monday. On Sunday, and Vince comes out and announces tomorrow night on Raw, we are going to have a new head of Raw. And drive people to TV, because this is something that I think it's more of a TV segment to draw people into. And I would have done it a bit different than the way they did Stephanie's unannounced return and then this announcement on Sunday.
I totally agree with that. And it's a shame, because it seems like now with the WWE Network, the business model has changed. Instead of driving people to TV, it's almost like they're trying to drive more viewers to the network. But you still need that. You still need those TV viewers,
and their TV revenue is a massive revenue generator for them. It's the highest of all their revenue generators. So you can certainly accomplish both. It doesn't have to be either or. Right. So that is Payback. I think we've covered everything.
I think so.
He'll be back next week, folks. You can follow him at Jimmy KORDERAS. I am John Pollock. And Sunday night, you can watch Payback, 8 Eastern time on the network. And then immediately after, tune into The Law, live audio wrestling. We'll have a full rundown of Payback. We'll also be joined by the voice of Ring of Honor, Kevin Kelly, as he will chat about ROH's Global Wars pay-per-view and their return to Toronto coming up in the month of May. For Jimmy KORDERAS, I'm John Pollock. Enjoy Payback, and we will speak with you next week.